This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz. Very excited to be speaking with Adria Arjona about Andor. How are you today?
Good. I'm good. How are you?
Good. What is it like to be a part of the Star Wars universe and just engage with the massive fan community around the world?
Oh, I mean so much. And I think this season specifically, I have really felt that embraced. For season one, no one really knew who we were as a show or what we were trying to kind of do. And, going to Comic-Con or Star Wars Celebration, you like really get to put faces to the people and the reason of what you do. And it's been really special to be embraced by such a beautiful community.
This was definitely a darker season for Bix, and certainly one with a lot of transformation. How much did you know about the entire arc of Bix when you first joined the show in season one?
In season one, I didn't know exactly where season two was going to take me, but Tony really believes that information is power. He just really gave me as much as he had in his mind or in his imagination. Yeah, he provided me with all the information. But for season two, the back end of Bix's journey, he told me that pretty early on, before we even started filming season two, or before there was a script. um he made sure that I sort of had it in the back of my head, and I lingered with those emotions for a really long time. I lingered with the idea of what was going to happen to Bix, as opposed to reading it and then having to play it a week later. Which was really cool and really interesting. It gave me time, and I think for a lot of actors, we don't get the luxury of time.
And there certainly is a lot of action in season two, and Bix is part of a little of it, but there's one very triumphant moment where she gets to sort of, I mean, very specifically take revenge for somebody who has caused her so much trauma. How did it feel acting out that big scene?
I think with a character that you spend so much time with, you start getting these little moments and you take them a little bit personal, right? You're just like, I need this. I need this for her. I need her to have this revenge so she can finally kind of put all that trauma to rest. And obviously it doesn't happen like that. Trauma's so much more complicated than that. Um, but to have that release for that character, it was everything. I remember when I read it, that's one that Tony didn't tell me. He kind of surprised me in the page, and he was like, I'm like, oh yes, she gets to, she gets payback. And I mean, that's all I ever want for her, is to, succeed and win, and she wins.
And what about her relationship with Cassian?
What about it?
How do you feel? How do you feel about
Oh, how do I feel about, I
the
mean,
way
there's
that
so
things are?
it's such a big and complex relationship that I'm like, wait, what do you mean? Um I love them two together. Season one, the big question was like, what are they? Are they friends? Are they related? Are they turning into lovers? And the truth is that it's all kind of summarized in the first episode with the one line that Diego says, which is, I want to call home, I want to call home. And you quickly realize that home is Bix for Cassian, and that they've created a home together and have fallen in love. You know, they've been best friends forever, and they have a beautiful friendship, and they support each other and miss Ferrix deeply. And yeah, they can really trust and rely within each other. And I think neither of them have had that before. So it's really interesting seeing them try to figure it all out, and especially trying to figure it all out with, with a rebellion happening right outside of your door.
What was it like to film that last recorded message?
I did not take it lightly. I didn't. I was so emotional for, it's weird because my job is to kind of control my emotions at times, and I cannot control them for the life of me in that scene. I like really took it personal. And I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop crying for the first maybe two or three takes. Um, they're unusable. They were unusable because I just couldn't cope. I couldn't understand that I was saying goodbye to Cassian and that I was saying goodbye to this show. And there was a lot of my personal feelings involved. So once I kind of got through that, um, I was able to send the message that, I'll get to see. Um, but Rogue One is one of my favorite movies, and to have an influence and sort of propel this character to go on this other journey, and the journey of Rogue One, I mean, it's just the greatest honor I think any filmmaker or any writer has ever given me, to be honest. And yeah, I took it really seriously, and I took it really to heart.
Well, people will see this interview after the last three episodes have aired, but we're talking just after,
Okay, okay, okay.
that episode
Okay.
nine aired. Have you been monitoring how people are feeling about episode nine and how, things ended with this?
I haven't. I'm really trying to stay away from it for a little bit until episode 12 airs. I think it, again, like I was saying, it's so personal that I'm like, I know, I get it. I mean, I'm sure people are upset. I'm sure people really agree with her, and it's kind of this back and forth that people are going to have. And I sort of felt that same thing. And I think once episode 12 airs and once they see the whole thing, I think, you know, they'll understand. I
We
hope.
can we can talk in detail about that because again, we'll be people will have
I
seen
know I'm
episode
so like
12.
traumatized that I'm like so
Let's do
trained
not to be
not to
cryptic
talk
at
about
all.
it.
So
Um, yeah, I think people will understand that there's a great sacrifice that Biggs has to make. And the scene with the healer, you know, the healer kind of solidifies everything that Biggs has thought in her mind. He is destined for bigger and greater things. And Cassian, in the scene prior to the message, tells her, I'm tired. I just want to be with you, and I want to just make a home and be happy and not worry about what is best for the rest of the galaxy. And the truth is that Bix can't let that happen. She understands that he is destined for so much more, and she can't get in the way of that. And I think that's real love. That's true love. Um, and when you find out the reason behind it, it's she's pregnant and she's carrying Cassian's baby. And the second that she tells him, I'm pregnant, they're going to stay together. And the world that they're living in, the world that she's going to leave her child in, won't be the same. You know, it's the greater good for Cassian and for the future of, you know, her world and the future of her child. So it's a really beautiful sacrifice. And I think, I don't think Bix knows that that's what's going to happen in Rogue One. She can never she can never envision that, right? She hopes and dreams that years down the line they'll reunite again, because that's what she says the whole entire show is, he'll be back. Cassian will be back. And that's she's never doubted that he's going to find her. And I think there's so much hope in that last moment because of that.
well, the nice thing about Star Wars being so popular and having so many fans is that things like this show give us a chance to get to know a character that we had known from Rogue One. So there's always a possibility that we could see more of Vix's story at some point, even though Andor is over. Is that something that you would welcome, or you feel like this is a good sort of cliffhanger to leave off the character?
Oh, I love Big so much. I would always welcome it, I think. Always.
Well, I've had the chance to see you in some other projects, and I just have to tell you how much I enjoyed Hitman.
Oh,
I
thank
saw it at the Toronto International Film Festival, and my only gripe is that most people saw it at home without a big audience, and I feel like seeing it in the theater full of other people's reactions must be really, really fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, I only watched it because I knew I was like, I'm never gonna watch this movie in theaters, right? Because I'll go right to Netflix. So we watched it in the premiere, and it was so cool to see, people laughing and the little moments I was choosing, and people. There was a whole round of applause after the phone scene. I'd never seen that in a theater. Everyone just started clapping. I was like, what's happening? And me and Rick and Glenn were all a little confused. We're like, oh, so it was a real treat to watch with an audience.
You feel like you have a preference for that kind of comedy versus this kind of drama?
I mean, preference is hard. I think it's kind of in the moment that you are in your career. Like, if I were to be doing three back-to-back comedies, I'll be like, I'm done with comedy. You know what I mean? So after a drama, it's always kind of fun to balance things out, and not only for the story that I'm sort of sharing with the world of sort of who I am as an actress, but it's more for me too. I don't want to get bored. I want to keep things kind of alive and challenging. And I think comedy is so hard to pull through and pull off that, it's nice to be humble, to go from a really dramatic piece and then going to a comedy and first day on set, you're like, oh, okay, I gotta get to work. It's really humbling. I love it.
I had the chance a few years ago to see a really great comedy called The Climb. And I'm excited because I have to imagine, without knowing anything about Splitsville, that there's some sort of tonal similarities. Is there anything you can preview about working with that team?
I love those guys so much, and I love Dakota so much. We had such a great time making Swiss. I'm like, I can't wait to talk to you about it. Hopefully soon. But it's so quirky and it's funny and it's just a really, really beautiful, funny movie, and I'm so proud to be in it. And I think no one is gonna expect this character from me. I do some pretty crazy things in this movie.
Well, what are you watching on TV these days? What have you seen recently that's really impressed you?
Ooh, adolescence really kind of blew my mind. It almost makes me want to be a part of something. I'm like, I don't understand how they did it, how they rehearsed it. So I think adolescence has been something that has really like kind of really impressed me. What's another thing that I've watched? I've been watching a lot of old movies for like sort of references or yeah, I tend to go back in time. That's been my past like 2 weeks. I've been watching a lot of old movies for something that I have in mind.
Anything else coming up that you can talk about?
Yeah, I have Splitsville coming out now at Cannes. And then I have Onslaught, an A24 movie with Adam Wingard. And hopefully that comes out this year or early next year. There's no date or anything. But I love that movie so much. And again, it's another character that I think people are not going to expect coming from me.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me about Vix and saying goodbye. Well, maybe goodbye, who knows?
Who knows?
And
Who knows?
looking forward to seeing all your different work next.
Thank you so much.